Reptile has been in Mortal Kombat for 30 years, and he has the win-loss record of a Washington Generals point guard. We're talking about a character who's supposed to be a master assassin with acid spit and invisibility powers, but in practice serves as the universe's most durable punching bag. He is the guy you beat up to prove you are ready to fight the actual bad guys, because the writers needed someone to fill a slot on the lose against the hero roster. Reptile's story is one of the most fascinating examples of how a franchise can take its first secret character and systematically strip away everything that made him cool. Let's talk about it. In the original Mortal Kombat arcade era, information didn't travel by high-speed internet. Instead, it traveled by random lies told by that one kid in the cafeteria who claimed his uncle worked at Nintendo and knew the blood code. In this specific case, the rumors were actually true, because Reptile was the first secret character in fighting game history, and the requirements to find him were so specific that it felt like Ed Boon and John Tobias were trolling us. You had to be on the pit stage while fighting the CPU, and you had to wait for a silhouette to fly across the moon, which did happen randomly. You also had to win with a double flawless victory without using block. And finally, you had to perform a fatality. If you did all that and the stars aligned without breaking the arcade machine, you'll get dropped into the bottom of the pit to fight a green ninja named Reptile, who moved faster than everyone else in the game. Unlocking him back then felt like you discovered actual forbidden knowledge instead of just watching a YouTube tutorial. Reptile in the first Mortal Kombat was a lazy and beautiful mess, because he was just Scorpion and Sub-Zero taped together but with a green palette. He moved faster than everyone else, while possessing both the spear and the ice freeze, which made him a nightmare that drank your quarters, because he was programmed to read your inputs and destroy your ego. Also, did you know that yellow plus blue is green? That's how he was born. The lack of lore was what made him cool, because he had no backstory or dialogue. He was purely mysterious, because we couldn't play as him, so we projected all our hopes and dreams onto him, assuming he was the strongest warrior in the tournament. But little did we know this was the peak, and it was all downhill from here. Because once you give a mystery a face, it usually turns out to be disappointing. By Mortal Kombat 2, Midway saw players obsessed with the Green Ninja, so they made him playable, but this time, he had his moveset, which was iconic. He spat acid and turned invincible, which was somehow useless because you could still see his outline while invincible. They also gave him a backstory that defined his entire existence. He's from a race called Saurians, or Raptors, from the realm of Zatera, which was conquered and destroyed by Shao Kahn, making Reptile one of the last survivors. He serves Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung with the promise that they'll revive his race if he remains loyal. But unfortunately, the ending in this game made him discover Shao Kahn had his race enslaved. Reptile was completely absent from Mortal Kombat 3, because apparently the writers couldn't figure out what to do with a ninja who loses every fight. But he came back for Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 with a new job. He had to hunt down Kitana because she murdered Mileena. Spoiler alert, he fails. Let's not forget the animality in Mortal Kombat 3, because everyone turned into an animal that practically represented their spirit. For example, Liu Kang turning into a dragon. And you will think Reptile turned into a lizard, but no, he turned into a chimpanzee that chases you off the screen, which makes absolutely no sense for a character whose name is literally Reptile.
Mortal Kombat 4 launched in 1997, and this is where the design team decided Reptile needed to look more reptilian. They gave him his first unique design, with minimal armor. His face was fully exposed, showing his lizard features, clawed hands, and three-toed feet, and he was serving Shinnok, because Shao Kahn was nowhere to be found, and Reptile needed a new boss to disappoint. The promise was the same: serve me, and I'll restore your race. He believed it, because apparently Reptile's defining character trait is gullibility. Deadly Alliance brought the full monstrous redesign. The developers decided to go full lizard and remove the ninja mask entirely. They turned him into a bipedal alligator with a tail, and he looks like a Tiamat concept art reject, which is exactly what he was. There was a scrapped character named Tiamat, and they just slapped Reptile's name on the model because they needed to fill the slot. The lore got convoluted too. He overheard Shang Tsung plotting to kill Shao Kahn and tried to warn him, but got distracted by Natara, a vampire who promised the knowledge about his race. She used him to get the Zateran artifact, and she used the distraction to help the Deadly Alliance murder Shao Kahn, who was a cloned version of the real Shao Kahn, by the way. We need to talk about that artifact possession, because at the end of Deadly Alliance, Reptile's body is used as the vessel for Onaga, the Dragon King. You might think Reptile becomes the final boss, but actually, Reptile disappears, and his body morphs into Onaga. Reptile isn't the boss, he is the meat suit. He spends the entirety of Mortal Kombat Deception, arguably the best story mode of the 3D era, completely absent because his body is being driven by an ancient dragon ghost. It is the ultimate lack of respect because the writers literally deleted him from the game to make room for a cooler lizard. When he finally comes back in Armageddon, he is just there, with no explanation. He was back with the full roster, but the design kept the full Reptile look, and his role in the story was purely generic. Who dies in the opening cinematic battle like everyone else? The 2011 Mortal Kombat was the NetherRealm Studios era, and the reboot was a chance to fix everything. NetherRealm Studios reset the timeline after the disaster on Armageddon and gave everyone a fresh start. Reptile's design is controversial because it is a hybrid look with a humanoid shape but scale armor and a mask that looks suspiciously like a bird's beak. Reptile's story in this era begins with Johnny Cage. At the first tournament, Johnny Cage beats him in the very first fight. Later, Reptile fights Sub-Zero in the second tournament and loses again. During the Earthrealm invasion from Mortal Kombat 3, he gets beaten by Curtis Stryker. Reptile loses to Stryker, who is a regular human cop. Meanwhile, Reptile is a magical ninja who can turn invisible and spit acid. He gets beaten by everyone and exists solely to get beaten up so the heroes or villains can look strong. The game brought back his more humanoid ninja design with some reptilian features showing through, which fans appreciated, and his moveset was solid, with force balls at different speeds, enhanced invisibility, and the slide. But story-wise, he accomplished nothing except losing 3 consecutive fights to progressively less threatening opponents. His arcade ending had him force Shang Tsung to genetically engineer the Saurian race back to life after killing Shao Kahn. Then he used his new army to slaughter the Tarkatans, Shokan, and Centaurs. It was appropriately violent and tragic, Reptile finally getting what he wanted, but becoming a genocidal maniac in the process. Non-canon, obviously. So why does Shang Tsung even keep him around if he loses every single fight he is in? Outworld HR needs a serious overhaul, because at this point, he is just a mascot who eats bugs and dust. If you've watched this far, a sub to the channel would encourage me to make more and better videos. Mortal Kombat 10 in 2015 finally gave him a name, Syzoth. After Shao Kahn's death, Reptile served Kotal Kahn, the new Outworld Emperor, and actually did something useful for once. He revealed that Mileena wasn't Shao Kahn's biological daughter, which helped Kotal take her throne. So Reptile betrayed the previous regime to join the new one, which is very on brand for him. He joined Kotal's crew alongside Ermac, Aaron Black, and Farah Tor to fight against Mileena's rebellion and protect Outworld from Shinnok's invasion. His arcade ending was actually hopeful. Kotal sent him to Earthrealm to assess damage after Shinnok's defeat. Reptile stumbled upon a hidden group of raptors who had actually stayed on Earthrealm and survived Zaterra's destruction. He totally vowed to stick with them and work on getting their original home back, which is a somewhat happy finish for him. Just a heads up though, this storyline isn't actually part of the main continuity. Then came Mortal Kombat 11, which had the best graphics and the best story production values, and a roster that brought back almost everyone except Reptile. Reptile is not in Mortal Kombat 11, except in the crypt, where if you put on Kenshi's blindfold and look around, you can find Reptile running away from you. You can hit him with a hammer to get a skin for Scorpion. That is his role, a loot piñata. He is also a special move for Shang Tsung, who can morph into him for a slide attack. So the only way to play as Reptile in Mortal Kombat 11 is to play as the guy who enslaved his family. That is dark and a level of disrespect that feels personal. The fans were furious because how do you have a Mortal Kombat game without the Green Ninja when you have Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Noob Saibot? It felt like NetherRealm Studios had finally decided that he wasn't worth the slot, and he had officially devolved from secret boss to missing in action. So far, this lore lets us know that he's dangerous, but the actual story shows us he's a punching bag. But wait till we get to the new era. The new era happened in Mortal Kombat 1, which was released in 2023, and Fire God Liu Kang reset this timeline and decided to give our boy a break. The trailer drops and we see Reptile, but he isn't a lizard or a bird, he is a guy. A surprisingly handsome guy with cool tattoos and a green sash who looks like he plays bass in an indie band. The internet lost its mind and was the trending topic because honestly, we needed this. The genius of the Mortal Kombat 1 design is the shapeshifting, which is the perfect synthesis of the Mortal Kombat 2 human look and the Deadly Alliance lizard look. He walks around as a human, but when he attacks, he morphs limbs into lizard parts or turns into a full gator for the death roll. He also turns invisible. It is the best of both worlds and justifies the Reptile name while keeping the ninja aesthetic. It is frankly the design we should have had 15 years ago. But the real question now is, does he win? Does he finally break the jobber cycle? In this timeline, Zaterra wasn't destroyed. The Zaterrans are alive and thriving underground in Outworld's province. But here's the twist. Syzoth is an outcast because he can shapeshift into a human form, and the Zaterran government considers this a dangerous mutation. Most Zaterrans can only go invisible like chameleons, but Syzoth can fully transform between his reptilian form and a human appearance. This is the first time Reptile's shapeshifting actually makes narrative sense. In previous games, he was a lizard man wearing a ninja costume for some reason, or he was a humanoid who occasionally showed his reptile face. Here, the shapeshifting is a genetic mutation that sets him apart from his people, makes him an outcast, and gives him an actual character motivation beyond serving the evil emperor. The story picks up with Syzoth enslaved by Shang Tsung, who discovered his abilities and kidnapped his wife and son to force him to work as a jailer in his secret laboratory where he performs horrific experiments. Shang Tsung used Syzoth's shapeshifting abilities to learn the technique himself, which is why Shang can transform in this timeline. When Johnny Cage, Kenshi, Kung Lao, and Baraka get captured and imprisoned there, Syzoth tries to send them to be vivisected because that's his job and his family's lives depend on him obeying orders. But the heroes overpower him and Baraka breaks down the door. During their escape, Syzoth helps them because Shang Tsung reveals that he already murdered his family long ago and just kept lying to maintain control. Syzoth joins Liu Kang's forces to stop Shang Tsung and the Deadly Alliance, fights alongside the heroes through the story mode, and actually contributes meaningfully instead of just losing cutscene fights. After the final battle, Empress Melina appoints him as Outworld's emissary to the Zatarans. He returns home expecting rejection because of his mutation, but is welcomed as a hero. Finally, some recognition. But then his arcade ending drops the next twist. While going through official Zataran records, he discovers that his shapeshifting mutation isn't unique. Many Zatarans are born with this ability, but the government systematically murders them to prevent it from spreading. His entire life as an outcast was based on a lie. The government has been committing genocide against their own people to suppress this ability, and he's one of the few who escaped because he left home before they could kill him. The New Era version works because it finally treats Reptile like a character instead of a plot device. Also, his relationship with Ashra develops into a romance subplot. He becomes Melina's emissary, which gives him political relevance. The ending reveals the conspiracy about Zataran genocide, which creates future narrative potential. For the first time in 30 years, Reptile's story feels like it's going somewhere instead of running in circles. So, where do we go from here? In the Mortal Kombat 1 expansion, Chaos Reigns, we see alternate timeline versions of Reptile serving Titan havoc. This suggests that Reptile is doomed to be a servant in every timeline, and it is his multiversal constant. In Mortal Kombat 2 or Mortal Kombat 13, whatever they call it, I think Syzoth will likely sacrifice himself to save the new Shirai Ryu or Johnny Cage. He will finally win a fight, but it will cost him his life because that is the only way a jobber gets to be a hero. Anyways, that's it for Reptile for now. If you think I got something wrong, let me know in the comments, and if you want a deep dive into another character, drop your request in the comment section. I'm Joe, and I'll see you in the next one.